They've supported our positions to keep it moving forward. They have kept up with everything all of these lawyers have thrown at us, and did it with just amazing grace. You've seen them in court. You've seen what efforts Chief Gallen, our Chief County Detective, and all the support that they provide and have picked up in this. Beyond the guilty verdict, there have been some other, I think, important outcomes in this case. As we understand, this has been important for sexual assault victims everywhere. But we did this case because a crime was committed against Andrea Constand, and it happened in our jurisdiction, and that was our duty to move forward on. And when you look at this and look at what Andrea has done to stand up and declare what happened to him, she in a movement that has gone in the right direction, finally. And her quiet courage and her actions through this have helped victims to stand up and tell what happened to them. And I think now there's tremendous awareness of how these crimes have been covered up and papered over for the years. And I hope and I pray that our actions have shown that we will stand up with those victims. And all women that are out there standing up and telling their truth, we support them and encourage them to keep it up. And I hope now everybody recognizes that here you're going to be treated with dignity and respect through the process. Another outcome has been an increased look at rape myths or sexual assault myths, and the myth that a victim of sexual assault, especially by someone they knew or trusted, will immediately report it to the authorities, that they will behave in a certain way, or they will never talk to anyone again. We've dispelled that here, and that's because that's false, and that's not always the way it goes. Too often these types of crimes, sexual assault, do not get reported, especially in cases where a drug has been used in a drug-facilitated sexual assault. An intoxicant, so the victim does not have a clear memory of what went on. So we hope that this case sends a strong message that the victims of these types of crimes can come forward and be heard on what happened to them. So there was a defendant in this case. The next steps. A sentencing date will be issued by the judge. That is typically within about a 60 to 90 day period of time on when the sentencing date will come. In the interim, he'll be looked at and assessed in a couple ways. There's a pre-sentence investigation that will be done. There'll be a sexually violent predator assessment that will be done. And all these are standard procedures in these type of cases. These assessments will then be used by the judge in determining the sentence. And in that sentencing hearing, we'll have the opportunity to put evidence on, as will the defense. The defendant may be facing years in prison. He was convicted of 3 counts of this. So technically that would be up to 30 years. However, we have to look at merger of those counts to determine what the final maximum will be that he is facing. So in addition to jail time, and I mention this because there's been some things that have been asked about it over time, and typically what is done in a case is that a defendant will be assessed, and all of these things will be looked at in terms of the sentencing. But when a sentencing occurs, there's also an assessment for the cost with both the trials, the sequestration, the sheriff's costs for this will go to the defendant, and I will be relying on defense counsel's opening remarks in this when he was talking about $3.38 million being a paltry sum or simply a nuisance. So clearly, the cost of prosecution in this matter should not be a problem for the defendant.